What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. I needed to make this video because I've been seeing a lot of different content pop up online about, we already know that there's 15 different iterations of Classic Plus. These people are going to want whatever we get for Classic Plus. These people aren't going to want it. There's people all over this spectrum of Classic Plus ideas and design philosophies, right? And I wanted to kind of give my take on this and what I think we're actually going to get and why I think we're going to get that. So I'm really just hanging out over here playing hardcore, and I had the idea to film this video. So this is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to make this video as I'm actively playing the game. So there's a lot of people. Let's just take the two extremes, right? We have one side that is ultimately the very close to like what used to be like the no changes crowd for Classic, right? Which I was part of that for a really long time. The diehard vanilla enthusiasts. Vanilla, in my opinion, is the best version of World of Warcraft there ever was. I've been playing since 2004 for anyone who needs my history of playing this game. My first time playing this game, I was like around 12 years old. I built my first PC and I was playing set up on a snack table in my tiny bedroom. Okay, so that's how long I've been playing this game. Still to this day, I do personally think vanilla as a whole is the best version of World of Warcraft that there ever was and probably ever will be, even with Classic Plus coming out. And let me explain that. So if you look at it as a line, right? Over here on this side, you have vanilla or classic WoW. Okay, and then over here on the other end of the line, we have retail WoW. Now, somewhere in the middle is where I think Classic Plus is going to and supposed to fit in, right? Like that's technically what's going to happen. I know there's a lot of people out there that want them to kind of just take vanilla and make a few new zones and add some new quests and things like that. I don't think that that's what it's going to be. That's too close to vanilla and hardcore and all the stuff that we already have. And these things are permanent. They are not going anywhere, right? So aside from that, you have the other end, which we just said is retail, right? Where everything's completely different. It's not really World of Warcraft anymore. The only thing that makes it World of Warcraft is, the fact that it's called World of Warcraft, in my opinion. Not to, say it's a terrible game or anything like that. I enjoy retail from time to time for like the first month of an expansion, and then it just doesn't hold my interest. I'm a classic player, okay? The problem is here that, where's this guy? Is he outside? There needs to be something in the middle, right? Blizzard isn't going to launch a fully new product and this big new thing if they can't market it as a big new thing, right? Be careful. Oh yeah, there's a missing diplomat here. So in my opinion, Classic Plus is kind of going to fall in the middle between Classic and between retail, right? And what that means to me, again, this is my personal opinion, is that in this new version of WoW, whatever we see for Classic Plus, what we really should be seeing is the game is based around the vanilla world. It's based around Azeroth. The game is built or designed in the spirit of vanilla, meaning the pacing of the game feels the same. The combat of the game feels the same, but more engaging. And let me, explain on that a little bit because I know a lot of people are going to comment on that. In previous videos, I said that I really like the way the classes feel to play in Wrath of the Lich King, okay? And I do. I think everyone can agree that they're really, really fun in Wrath of the Lich King. Now, you could argue and say that the power scaling is out of control, whatever it is, okay? It doesn't fit in vanilla. But when I say that it needs to be built in the spirit of vanilla, give classes, make them fun to play, right? And you guys got to also remember that I'm saying all this from the mindset of mostly a PvE player. I dabble in world PvP and stuff like that, but for the most part, I'm a PvE player, right? And in vanilla, pretty much every single class to me is pretty boring to play in Raid if you've done it already. And I've been playing the game for 22 years, so I've played every class in Raid. I've done it all. It just needs to be a little bit more engaging. I'm not saying it needs to be more engaging in terms of make it like Season of Discovery where your power scaling's out of control and it's like retail, rotations. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. Keep it in the spirit of Classic. If you want it to be simple, 1-2 buttons, whatever, give classes abilities that maybe look cool. Update the graphics of some of the spells that some classes have very slightly. Nothing crazy. You don't want it to be flashy because then it becomes retail. But just spice it up just enough where when this thing launches and people play it for 3 months, at the end of that 3 months, they're not like, all right, well, I've seen everything that Classic Plus has to offer. I'm going to unsub, or I'm going to go back to hardcore, or whatever. You want to make it so that people are like, oh, cool, I just played this character for 3 months. Like, now I want to try this class. And they play that for 3 months. And then at the end of that, they play the next class because they want to see all these new things. And, you know, hopefully as they're going through doing that, there's enough added to the world, zone-wise and lore-wise, new quests and all this other stuff, where as you're playing more and more characters, as you're going through the game again and again, this is if it's designed in the spirit of vanilla. As you're playing all these characters over and over and over again, you will get to a point where you're like, you're still finding new stuff out in the world. You're still going to new places, finding new quests that you didn't see on your first 2 playthroughs. I mean, I've been playing this game for 22 years, and every time I play and level again through vanilla, whether it's hardcore or whatever it is that I'm playing, I do actually stumble upon things that I have never seen before. Like some items, things like that. It happens to me all the time, and I've been playing for 22 years. So that is a big part of what I think needs to be in Classic Plus, and it's something that Blizzard really does need to nail, right? That is the spirit of vanilla. The spirit of vanilla is being set in this world. The world is massive. The world is dangerous. You know, you are not the main character. The world is the main character. You should never be so strong and overpowered that the world doesn't feel dangerous, at least on your first playthrough, right? Nowadays, you could argue that this world isn't very dangerous anymore. The game's been figured out 1.5 million times. We all have played it forever. And really the only way you're ever going to get that feeling back playing this game is by being a different person and playing it for the first time. That's just the facts. And to me, that can come back in Classic Plus if Blizzard does it right. I personally believe that, like I said, it's going to sit somewhere in the middle between Classic Era and Retail, and it's going to be able to experiment a little bit. I don't think it's going to be super close to vanilla, and I don't think it's going to be super close to Retail, and I think that's a good thing. And I know there's some people out there that are going to disagree with me, but here's the thing. We have Retail, so we don't need it to be like that, and we have Classic Era and Hardcore, so we don't need it to be like that. We do need it to be somewhere in the middle, because if it's not in the middle, it's not going to be new enough to hold people's attention for very long. Let me give you an example of what I'm trying to say in my mind, right? If they were to, let's say, launch Classic Plus as basically what I'm playing right now, Vanilla Classic, no talent changes, no spell changes, and just a few more zones in the world, maybe a couple new dungeons and a couple of new quest lines here and there, right? Like, let's say a total of 100 hours extra gameplay of new stuff we have never seen before, right? That 100 hours of gameplay, once it's done, where is the replayability? Because you've already played this game 1 million times. You've already played a warrior. I've played a warrior over 50 times at this point since 2019. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, you've played all these classes for the last 22 years. And the last 7 years, we can even go, you know, a little bit more graceful and say the last 7 years. We've been playing since 2019. And the people who are, you know, more, I would say, hardcore WoW players really have been kind of playing, you know, since 2019 up till now. And it's just like that replayability goes out the window, because no matter how much content they add, eventually you will have already done it, right? So it needs to be a combination of a bunch of different things. There needs to be new content as far as zones. There needs to be new content as far as like epic quest lines. Like I think that personally they should make quest lines that, you know, more stuff like, you know, the first time you did like the Link quest line and stuff like that from back in the day. We need more like quest lines that maybe have like some kind of relevance to something else outside the WoW universe that's kind of comical, or, you know, super like hard quest lines that take you like weeks to finish, and they're gated somehow where like you can't just blast through it all in one day. You need to run something that you can only run once a week here and there, like cool stuff like that, right? With a lot of RP involved and new lore if they develop new lore. All that kind of stuff is what I think is going to make the game in the spirit of vanilla. You know what I'm trying to say? That is the spirit of vanilla. Now, I know that the spirit of vanilla is also these same classes that we've been playing for 22 years. But the thing is, I'm not saying to fundamentally change how the class plays or performs even, but in some cases, I do think we need to do that with like boomkins and paladins and things like that. Like, yes, there are niche cases where these things work, but change it up. Like we've been doing it forever, and Classic Era still exists, and so does Hardcore. I think what I'm trying to say is, and again, this is all my personal opinion, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but I personally think if I were Blizzard and I were designing a Classic Plus, I would take the fact that we have Classic Era and the fact that we have, Classic Era hardcore here and then retail over here, and I would experiment more with Classic Plus. It is a slippery slope, absolutely. I agree with that, wholeheartedly. I do. I think it's very easy to go too far, and Blizzard, being the developers, need to kind of gatekeep that from happening. They need to be aware, they need to be playing the game, and they need to be people who do truly love Classic and love vanilla to make sure it's done right. And if they go too far, it's going to be an issue if it's not addressed like fast. You know what I'm trying to say? We all know how the player base reacts, and it won't be good. But at the end of the day, having retail here, Classic and hardcore here, all of these things are here. That will allow, in my opinion, Classic Plus to experiment, right? Because yes, they can fuck something up and then go back on it and, fix it or change it, and then it's better or whatever. But if they go a little bit too far away, if they maybe don't do enough and it takes a long time for it to pick back up after a bad phase or something, those other versions of the game are still here. The retail players still have retail. The vanilla Andes still have era, and they still have hardcore. And I'd argue that hardcore is the version of vanilla to play. Like, if you want to experience vanilla WoW, you play hardcore at this point in time, right? Even Classic Era is extremely inflated. It's all GDKPs. Not that I have a problem with GDKPs at all, but it's not like to me, hardcore, if you want an authentic, or the closest to an authentic, OG Classic WoW experience, hardcore is going to be the closest that you get to that, right? So that will always exist. They said hardcore is never going anywhere. And Classic Era, I'm pretty sure, is always going to exist as well. And retail will always exist, in some form. It'll be there, retail. So Classic Plus will sit in the middle, and I think that's where it belongs. And I could be completely wrong, but again, if I was looking at this through the eyes of the developers, that is what I would be designing a game to do. I would be designing it to be a bridge in between Classic and retail, where Classic players like it. It has enough vanilla elements that it feels like similar to vanilla. It's set in Azeroth. And then on the other end, retail players want to come check it out because this is like an expansion of how this game started, right? Maybe finishing old content or whatever they, decide to do there. And I think this is really important because if they were to just make a very, very almost untouched with a little bit more splash of new content version of vanilla, like, who is that game for? Because it's really only for us, like the vanilla people who only want to play Classic. They're not reaching a new market with that. They're not reaching a new audience with that. WoW has been around for a really long time. And I do think that if they're putting this amount of development into a product where it's going to be as big as we think it's going to be, and again, this is all hypothetical. I don't know anything. It could be nothing. It could be another season for all I know. But we like to believe that they're working on this big product that is going to be its own standalone version of Classic WoW. I don't think they would put that amount of development time and all of this into a game that is going to not appeal to a wider audience than just like the Classic Andes, right? Or the diehards. I do personally think it's going to sit somewhere in the middle. And personally, I'm completely okay with that. I have been playing Classic since 2019 now. I've been playing the entire World of Warcraft franchise since 2004. Started with Warcraft 2, Orcs and Humans. Like, it's just, I've played it enough where, like, I'm okay with some things being changed. And you know what? I'm going to be the first person to be like, 3 months into Classic Plus, 4 months into Classic Plus, when I get bored or when we're in a dead phase, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to come back to hardcore and play vanilla again. It's like that is never going to go away no matter what Blizzard launches. And like that is something I feel like people forget, that hardcore and Classic are going to always be the thing that when you're bored of the new shiny thing, you come back to them because they feel like home, right? Like, and that's as real as I can put it. And I hope that Blizzard goes the route of experimenting a little bit while keeping the spirit of Classic there. Keep the combat pacing the same, keep the leveling the same, if not slow it down even more. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep it slow, make the world dangerous, make the game about the journey. And if we had it my way, I'm a big parser, sweat lord lunatic when it's in the game. Anyone who watches my streams, you guys know I strive to be the best that I could be. I love parsing and all that stuff. But here's the thing. If I had it my way, I would literally take parsing out of Classic Plus. I wouldn't even put it in the game. And I think people would enjoy the game more if they just played what they wanted to play. And then you measure your performance with details in your raid, in your guild. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm thinking back to like how I used to play the game way back in the day. And that's what it was for me. I don't even know if parsing was around back then, but when I raided, which I think the first time I actually raided was when we went into TBC. I didn't even raid in vanilla back in the day. I was too young. It took me forever to hit level 60. The first raid I ever did, I think, was Karazhan, and we didn't log or do anything. We had the most unoptimal group ever. It was just a group of like 8 of my real life friends and then 2 like randoms from the game that I'm literally still friends with today that I met in original Burning Crusade. Okay, like I'm still friends with these people today and play WoW with them today from 20 years ago at this point. And I think that is what made the game so great, and I think they can recreate that. And I'm telling you, I wish they could get rid of Warcraft logs completely, because if we didn't have logs in Classic Plus, people would be way more inclined to just play the game for fun, and you can still perform and do whatever you want to do within your raid, within your guild. But the problem is they won't get rid of them because there is another use case for Warcraft logs that does make sense, and it really is useful for learning how to play your class, or, you know, tracking records and seeing what you did wrong and learning how to perform better as a guild and all this other stuff. So there are some really good use cases for it, but maybe we could get rid of like the ranking portion of it, right? Like you can compare yourself to other people, but get rid of like the rank, the number that everyone chases, the pinks, you know what I'm trying to say? Like I think that as long as that's a thing, once everything's figured out in Classic Plus, that will absolutely become the mentality again. That will absolutely become what people chase and what people want to do. And you will see a meta form, and you will see people conform to that meta. And it's just, that is how gamers are nowadays. So it's up to developers to kind of put up a wall to gamers and be like, we're stopping this because we took this out or whatever. Like that's how that goes. I don't think we'll ever see Warcraft logs ever get taken out. That's just my little rant on how I feel like it would make Classic Plus a better experience if they did, or maybe if they didn't allow it for the first year or something like that. But either way, that is my take. I've been seeing a lot of people give their full take on what Classic Plus should be. And that's my take. Like I think it should sit somewhere in the middle. I think it should resemble vanilla in every sense, right? It should be the vanilla world. It should be the vanilla pacing. It should be the vanilla combat. But that means it should also have the vanilla storytelling and lore and just the way the world feels alive and vibrant. And I think there's so many things that Blizzard can do. And I know a lot of people don't have faith in them, but I do have faith in that if they had the manpower and the time to dedicate to this, that I do think they could make something great. I absolutely do not think they're incapable of that, and that's what I'm hoping for, you know? So hopefully that's what we get. I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. Feel free to tell me I'm an idiot. That's completely fine too. You get it every day on YouTube. I'm completely fine with it, numb to it at this point. And let me know your take and your point of view on this, because I think this is something that, you know, a lot of people have been sharing their view on it, and I wanted to do like a video that kind of encapsulated my entire view on it. I've done very sporadic things over the past few months, but let me know what you guys think about my take. Like the video. It definitely helps me out quite a bit. Follow me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/hammerdance, and subscribe to the channel if you guys love Classic just as much as me. But anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one.